Taos, New Mexico, 1972. The nearest building supply yard sat 70 miles south on a highway that turned to ice 4 months of the year. Mike Reynolds, a licensed architect trained at the University of Cincinnati's College of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning, had arrived in the high desert of northern New Mexico with one question nobody in the profession was asking. What could a person build a permanent house from when conventional lumber was expensive, energy bills were a lifetime sentence, and the surrounding land was covered in discarded material nobody wanted? The answer was sitting in every landfill and tire shop in America: the automobile tire. Approximately 290 million scrap tires are generated in the United States every year. Tire shops pay to dispose of them. When you take a standard passenger tire, fill it with compacted subsoil from the building site, and drive a sledgehammer into it through 300 or more strikes until the earth inside locks under compression at 300 to 400 pounds per tire, you have a thermal building block that outperforms every manufactured insulation product at any price. Reynolds stacked those tires into walls 3 feet thick. He bermed compacted earth against the exterior north face. He plastered inside and out with adobe. Interior temperature in his first completed structure held between 65 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Through winters that dropped to -10 and summers that crossed 100 degrees. No furnace, no air conditioning. No electricity consumed for either function, no monthly bill for either result. The physics worked. The licensing board came anyway. The New Mexico State Board of Licensure for Architects moved against Reynolds' methods through the 1990s, placing his license under formal threat for constructing buildings outside the prescriptive standards the board was empowered to enforce. The International Residential Code, governing residential construction in 49 of 50 American states, contains no provision for tire walls, no testing protocol for packed earth thermal mass, and no permit pathway for a system Reynolds had proven worked across decades of extreme desert climate. By the end of this video, you will discover exactly why and how to build one yourself. And welcome back to Please subscribe so you never miss what the conventional construction industry hopes stays forgotten. Every ancient civilization that confronted extreme temperature without industrial materials independently arrived at the same conclusion. Pack enough dense, thermally stable mass into a wall, and the wall becomes the climate system. Heat doesn't penetrate fast enough to matter during the day. Cold doesn't penetrate fast enough to matter during the night. Physics operates at a pace the wall controls, not the weather outside it. The Dogon people of Mali began occupying the Bandiagara Escarpment, a 90-mile sandstone cliff face rising 1,600 feet above the plains of the West African Sahel, around the 13th century. They constructed their houses from banco, a pressed mixture of mud, chaff, and organic material built into walls measuring 40 to 70 centimeters thick at the base, positioned directly against the thermal mass of the cliff face itself. UNESCO designated the cliffs of Bandiagara a World Heritage Site in 1989, documenting that Dogon settlements have been continuously occupied on this escarpment for more than 700 years. The Sahel climate delivers summer temperatures exceeding 45 degrees Celsius and cold season nights dropping below 10 degrees. Interior temperature surveys of traditional Dogon Banco structures conducted under the Aga Khan Trust for Culture found consistent interior differentials of 12 to 18 degrees Celsius below exterior peak temperatures, achieved entirely through the mass of the walls and the rock face behind them. No mechanical system, no manufactured product. Dense matter doing what dense matter does. On the other side of the globe, tens of millions of people on China's Loess Plateau resolved the same problem by carving their homes directly into the earth. The Yaodong, cave dwellings excavated into the compressed Loess cliff faces of Shanxi, Shaanxi, and Gansu provinces, maintain year-round interior temperatures between 12 and 20 degrees Celsius. In a climate where exterior conditions range from -20 degrees Celsius in January to 42 degrees Celsius in July. Research published in Energy and Buildings documented that the compressed Loess walls forming the ceilings and sides of occupied Yaodong measure between 3 and 5 meters thick, absorbing the seasonal temperature swing and releasing it so slowly that interior conditions never register the extremes the surface endures. That is a 62 degree Celsius exterior swing reduced to an 8 degree interior variation, not through insulation, through mass. In the Hadramaut Valley of Yemen, the city of Shibam contains more than 500 tower houses rising between 5 and 9 stories from sun-dried mud brick, a settlement that 16th century Arab geographers described as the Manhattan of the desert. The oldest standing structures date from the 16th century, built on foundations and urban plans older still. UNESCO inscribed Shibam as a World Heritage Site in 1982, citing it as one of the oldest examples of urban planning based on vertical mud brick construction. The walls at the base of these towers reach 1.2 meters thick. Thermal surveys of occupied Shabam tower houses document year-round interior temperature variation remaining within 8 degrees Celsius, in a climate where exterior annual temperature spans exceed 35 degrees. Three civilizations separated by thousands of miles and centuries of time arrived at the same engineering truth. The wall is the machine. Different continents, different materials, different extremes, identical physics. Modern building science calls this thermal mass, the capacity of a dense material to absorb, store, and slowly release thermal energy over time. The mechanism is not insulation in the conventional sense. A fiberglass batt wall resists heat transfer by trapping air in glass fibers. A thermal mass wall operates through an entirely different principle. It allows heat to enter, but forces it to travel through so much dense, stable material that it arrives at the interior face hours after the exterior temperature that drove it has already reversed. Building scientists call this thermal lag. A packed earth wall 3 feet thick produces a thermal lag of 8 to 12 hours. Summer heat entering the exterior face at noon arrives at the interior face near midnight, when the desert outside has already dropped 40 degrees and no additional heat is needed. The wall delivers what the sun gave it at exactly the moment it can no longer cause discomfort. The performance data from Earthship Biotecture, Reynolds' Taos-based design and construction company operating continuously since 1972, documents interior temperatures in completed Earthship structures holding between 64 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round in the Taos climate, where exterior temperatures range from minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in January to 102 degrees Fahrenheit in July. That is a 112-degree exterior swing producing an 8-degree interior variation. No HVAC system operates to achieve it. Research published in the Journal of Cleaner Production on completed Earthship structures documented interior temperatures. Improperly oriented buildings maintaining between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius across a full calendar year without mechanical heating or cooling. The study confirmed that correctly sited Earthship construction reduces operational energy for climate control to near zero in high desert climates. Independent thermal analysis of packed earth wall assemblies at standard Earthship thicknesses found performance equivalent to R30 in dynamic modeling. That accounts for thermal lag, despite a nominal static R value of only R0.45 per inch that conventional code calculations would assign to bare earth. The static R value metric was designed to evaluate fiber insulation. It captures only half the physics operating in a mass wall. Every American building code that relies on it to evaluate thermal performance has been measuring packed earth with the wrong instrument for a century. So why is there not a tire wall under every new American home? The answer has nothing to do with physics. It has everything to do with what the physics replaces. The global HVAC market was valued at $185.9 billion in 2024. Carrier Global Corporation, the largest HVAC manufacturer in the world, reported revenues of $22.0 billion that year. Lennox International, Trane Technologies, Daikin Industries. Each depends on an identical economic structure, equipment that fails on a predictable 15 to 25-year replacement schedule, in-service contracts that run annually across that operational life, and refrigerant that requires periodic recharging the homeowner cannot perform or avoid. The average American household spends between $1,500 and $3,000 per year on combined heating and cooling energy. Across a 30-year period, that figure reaches $45,000 to $90,000 per household, paid in monthly increments to utility companies, service technicians, and equipment manufacturers on a cycle that produces no durable asset and never ends. A properly constructed tire wall breaks every link in that chain simultaneously. No compressor, no refrigerant, no annual service contract, no replacement event at year 15, no utility line item for heating or cooling. One construction event, then silence, zero recurring revenue for any manufacturer. The International Residential Code, published and maintained by the International Code Council, a private standards body headquartered in Country Club Hills, Illinois, contains no prescriptive section for tire wall construction. IRC Section R104.11 provides a pathway for alternative materials, but it requires sign-off from the local building official, plus independent engineering documentation in most jurisdictions. That engineering review process costs between $3,000 and $8,000 in professional fees before a single permit conversation begins, for a wall whose primary material is collected for free. The bureaucratic cost of demonstrating compliance frequently exceeds the material cost of the wall it evaluates. Reynolds operated for years under a negotiated exemption allowing Earthship construction in Taos County's unincorporated rural zones. The exemption required the owner-occupant to be the primary resident and prohibited the structure from entering the conventional real estate market as a code-compliant dwelling, legal in a defined zone of high desert, illegal everywhere else in America. New Mexico passed legislation in the mid-2000s creating a supervised pilot program for Earthship construction in designated areas. No other American state adopted an equivalent pathway. Germany recognizes rammed earth construction under DIN 18945. Standards Australia published a rammed earth construction standard in 2002. New Zealand, France, and the United Kingdom each evaluated the same physics and wrote a workable code section. America evaluated the same physics, noted that no major industry had a financial interest in its adoption, and left the code table blank. But you do not need anyone's permission to understand the physics. Here is exactly how to build one yourself. Before you collect a single tire, 3 pieces of information govern every decision that follows. First, your jurisdiction's position on alternative construction methods. Pull your local building department's current adopted edition of the IRC and locate section R104.11. Contact the building official directly and ask whether tire wall construction has been reviewed or approved under alternative methods in your county before. If it hasn't, you will need a licensed structural engineer to stamp your drawings before any permit conversation begins. Budget for that cost from the start rather than encountering it after site preparation. Second, your county's radon classification. Pull the EPA radon zone map and find your county designation. Zone 1, elevated radon risk, requires fully sealed wall-to-foundation connections, mechanical whole-house ventilation, and mandatory post-installation radon monitoring. Tire walls berm into the earth. Radon moves through soil. The pathway between the two is direct and the risk is real. This step is non-negotiable regardless of which zone you occupy. Third, your soil composition. The fill material packed into each tire must be subsoil, dense, clay-rich mineral soil, excavated from at least 12 inches below the surface. Topsoil contains organic material that decomposes under sustained compression, reducing density over years and undermining the thermal performance the wall depends on. Never pack tires with topsoil, sand, or gravel. Source standard passenger car tires in 15 to 16-inch rim diameter. Tire retailers and automotive shops are required under state scrap tire management regulations to handle disposal and will frequently release tires for free collection. Plan for approximately 100 tires per 100 square feet of finished wall face. Set the first tire course on a concrete stem wall or rubble trench foundation. Install a bituminous waterproofing membrane or closed-cell foam board capillary break between the concrete surface and the first tire course. Groundwater wicking upward through a concrete foundation into the base of a tire wall will initiate biological breakdown in the soil fill from the bottom up. Do not skip this membrane. Place the first tire flat on the foundation. Shovel subsoil into the tire opening until approximately 3/4 full, then begin compacting with a sledgehammer, driving the earth into the tire bead with short, forceful strikes. Rotate the tire 90 degrees and repeat. Continue compacting in rotation until the tire resists further compression and the tread face sits level and firm under full body weight. A correctly packed tire weighs 300 to 400 pounds and cannot be repositioned without mechanical equipment. If yours moves without effort, it is underpacked. Repeat the process. In the Northern Hemisphere, every north, east, and west-facing wall requires a berm reaching a minimum of 2/3 of the wall height. This is non-negotiable. An exposed tire wall without exterior berming loses the majority of its thermal lag performance. The physics of a bermed wall and an exposed wall are not equivalent systems. They are simply not interchangeable. Apply a minimum of 1.5 inches of earthen or lime plaster to both interior and exterior wall surfaces in a minimum of 2 coats. 3 coats on all weather-exposed exterior faces. The plaster coat seals the tire material from the interior air, addresses the volatile organic compound concerns that building officials raise in permit denial letters, and creates the finished surface the wall requires for long-term performance. For builders in jurisdictions where tire wall permits remain unavailable, compressed earth block, mechanically pressed from site-sourced subsoil stabilized with 5 to 8% Portland cement by weight, delivers 85 to 90% of the thermal mass performance of a packed tire wall. It is permittable under existing masonry code provisions in every American state. Block presses from manufacturers, including Vermeer, are available for rental and produce blocks at a material cost of 0.12 to 0.35 per unit. Build it correctly, and your walls will hold interior temperature within a 10-degree Fahrenheit band, across a 100-degree exterior climate swing without touching a thermostat. When the grid fails during a weather emergency, as it did for more than 4 million Texas households during Winter Storm Uri in February 2021, leaving residents without heat for days in sub-freezing temperatures. A conventional home with a gas furnace or electric heat pump goes cold within hours and stays cold until utility restoration. An Earthship tire wall on the same street holds its interior between 65 and 70 degrees through the duration of the outage. Not because of backup power, because the walls themselves are the heating and cooling system. There is nothing that needs electricity to keep functioning. Conventional HVAC requires a working compressor, a refrigerant charge, a utility grid, and a service technician on a 10-year replacement schedule. The tire wall requires none of those things. It requires only the physics of thermal mass that the Dogon applied in Mali 7 centuries ago, that tens of millions of families depend on in the Los Plateau today, and that Mike Reynolds demonstrated in the desert outside Taos in 1972. The thermal lag of 3 feet of compacted earth is the same today as it was the day Reynolds drove his first sledgehammer into that first tire. The physics still work. The tires are waiting. Now you know not just why this was hidden from you, but exactly how to build it yourself. Subscribe if you enjoyed this guide and watch the next video appearing on your screen right now.